Mr. Speaker, and I rise to speak to an issue that I raised in the question period, and it had to do with the cuts to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in my riding. In fact, it had to do with the cuts at the terminals for Marine Atlantic in both Port aux Basques and Argentia. And what's happening as a result of that is that we're putting in danger potato crops, for instance, in PEI and in New Brunswick, and there's the soil in Newfoundland is infested with what's called potato wart. Once that soil is transported from Newfoundland and Labrador to other parts of the country, then there's a risk that it will infect crops. And the issue we have, of course, is that by doing away with the jobs that were charged with the responsibility of washing down all of the vehicles before they leave Newfoundland and Labrador, you're in fact putting at risk those crops, because if they're not washed, then that danger is very real. Now, the government has said that even though they're cutting out those jobs, the vehicles will still have to be washed. The problem is that no one knows who's going to do that, where it's going to take place, and it's a serious issue. And we've tried to raise this again to point out the how serious this issue is, and whether or not we can get the government to reconsider the position it's taken. And I'm told there was absolutely no consultation whatsoever on this. Those of you who are familiar with where the ferry is in Port aux Basques in particular, it's in a very secure area. So once a vehicle goes into Marine Atlantic's ferry terminal there, once they're in there, they cannot come back out because they're in a secure area in order to board Marine Atlantic's vessel. The problem we have is that at least right now, when they go into the terminal area where they're washed down, then you know that they're on site and they're not going anywhere else where there would be contaminated soil. If we're going to suggest, as is being suggested, that this can take place outside of the terminal area, then that poses a real problem, because again, if you wash the vehicles off of the ferry terminal premises, then there's a chance that it will in fact pick up contaminated soil from where it's being washed to where you have to go to the ferry terminal. So it's a serious issue, and we don't think enough thought has gone into this, Mr. Speaker. But the other issue is that there's no indication at this point in time. These jobs are supposed to be gone as of April 1. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency actually is supposed to stop providing cleaning of the vehicles April 1, 2014. Once that happens, there has to be something in place. Now, the government has said, well, why not turn this over to the private sector? There's an opportunity here for the private sector. Well, no one has stepped up to the plate at this point, Mr. Speaker, and we're very seriously concerned that if no one does, then the government is not acknowledging the consequences of this. And while they say the vehicles will still have to be washed, they aren't saying how that's going to happen. And that's a serious problem for us. We're trying to find some way of ensuring that the vehicles continue to be washed. But at this point in time, no one has stepped up to the plate. They do need to be washed. So how is that going to happen if the government doesn't continue to do it? It's as to how the CFIA is going to ensure that drivers have access to facilities to wash their vehicles, because at this point in time, it's not clear how that's going to happen. And to suggest that it's a waste of taxpayers' money to wash these vehicles and to refer to it as just simply a car wash is really hardly being upfront here. We realize that there's a serious issue here. You're talking a multi-million-dollar potato industry in PEI and New Brunswick alone. So to refer to saving money on what you're calling simply a car wash is hardly being upfront and being honest with respect to what this entails. We all recognize the need to balance budgets, and that's not what this is about. This is about the need to recognize the damage that can be done and the loss of jobs that accompanies this. I mean, we're talking, I think it was 14 people that got letters indicating that possible jobs would be lost. But apart from that, the seriousness of this situation and how they're going to wash the vehicles leaves us wondering what the government knows that we don't.